hosts Qatar kick off the tournament themselves, and with their match number one, and of course tournament game number one, taking on Ecuador. Will they get off to a flyer? I've got an expert talk all about it. And next. With, of course, a World Cup rivals video today. It's the hosts on the spotlight, Qatar, and I've got an expert standing on the line to tell you all about the game as, of course, as kickoff approaches for this year's World Cup. We'll take a look at it, all of it in a second. Of course, if you're new, where you been, smash your subscribe button back. It's all things Rovers related, Germany related, World Cup related. We got it all here, boys. Under one Ruski, of course. If you're new, if you've never seen this this channel before, now's the time to get involved because we have phone-ins, regular World Cup phone-ins. You could be on the show. Of course, details for that is in the description. Also, big shout out to the patrons as well. And we have a Discord. Get in amongst it down below. But anyway, till then, guys and girls, let's get chatting with, of course, a Qatar football expert, of course, who's been on the line, of course, waiting patiently. I do appreciate you giving up a bit of your time. Tell them your name, where you're calling from, and what makes you a Qatar football expert.
Okay, so I'm Sudesh, and I'm from Nepal, a student currently at Qatar. I came here for university, and I've been watching the national team since 2019. The 2019 Asian Cup, where they were victorious, was the first time that they caught my eye. And ever since I've been here, since 2020, I've been watching the local games. I've been following the national team quite closely. Yeah, that's my Qatar experience. And, you know, I've been on the ground and seeing this World Cup progress from 2020 to 2022, and it's just like surreal.
So I'm calling you from the United States. We get the next World Cup, so I'm looking forward to whenever that comes around and maybe witnessing part of being in a country where the World Cup is. So Qatar kick off their campaign against Ecuador. What are your feelings hedging closer to the kickoff in that game?
So Qatar are playing for the first time in a world stage as hosts, and you know, the expectations are pretty realistic. Everyone wants them to win at least one game, and that's the only realistic shot at it. And I think Qatar will be going against Ecuador, although they will be the underdogs going into the fixture. Like, every Qatari fan is at least hoping their side puts up a good performance in the opening ceremony. So yeah, that's the realistic expectation going into Ecuador, the underdogs, but last but not the least, the Asian champions going into the World Cup as Asian champions. So, you know, not much expectations, but at least to put up a decent fight.
You never know. Being host nation, you'll have a little bit of extra, hopefully, support in the crowds. So what is your expectations for Qatar in this tournament itself? Do you have aspirations that you can get out of this group and maybe even a long journey in this tournament?
So Group A, drawn alongside Netherlands, Senegal, and Ecuador. So it's always going to be pretty tough. And Qatar as a nation as well, you know, it's been on this track with Coach Felix Sanchez and getting successes pretty recently. And the team, as you might expect, is quite better than what we expect of them. Like, you know, what it is portrayed. But in a way, it's a pretty young team, and it's pretty still under construction, I would say. So the realistic expectation, as I told you, would be to win at least one game in their debut World Cup. And you know, if miracles happen, they might even draw against Senegal. But you know, realistic expectations, just put on a fight, just win at least one game in their host, like as the host.
Again, I think 4 points is the magic number that should give you any nation at least maybe a toe in the next round. So get off to a flyer against Ecuador, you just don't know. Who, of course, most of us are unfamiliar with Qatar as a nation, as in the footballers, but you're there on the ground, and of course you see them week in, week out. Who's the player that's going to get us off our seat with excitement in this game and, of course, the rest of the tournament?
Okay, so the world is about to be introduced to Akram Afif, who is a very dynamic winger, very lethal in 1v1 situations, and he was the one who provided 10 assists in a single tournament in 2019 Asian Cup and was instrumental and has been instrumental ever since for the national team. So he's going to be the one to watch. He was the one to watch when Qatar went to the CONCACAF Gold Cup in 2021 and reached the semifinals, only to get out at the hands of the US itself. So Akram Afif is going to be that one guy who will be dazzling fans with his skills, and he and with the setup that he has. So the Qatar national team, it is quite apparent that they are coached by a Spanish coach. They like to keep possession, they like to stretch the pitch, and in that setup, he comes as vital as ever. So he can maybe occupy the width and then come inside and, who knows, score some bangers. So I'm banking my money on Akram Afif if there's one player that I have to choose from the Qatar national team.
Right, it does sound got me excited now. Got me excited for the opening day. Okay, so what, Ecuador first, maybe a bit of a surprise nation themselves coming into this World Cup. What concerns you about them as we edge closer to kickoff?
About Ecuador, like, I would say it from Qatar's point of view, like, first ever World Cup, going up against an opponent from Latin America, and of course there are concerns regarding the own team as well. The Qatar national team went to a very secretive, or very thorough process in this, and lately they've also struggled with sides that are simply greater in pedigree compared to them. So, one concern would be, how would they contain? They're pretty much done pretty good, but lately they've, on the days that they're not comfortable, they can be quite under the radar. So against Ecuador, if they press aggressively and they kind of do what Qatar, so Qatar wants to kind of have possession and everything. So if Ecuador don't let them do that, it will be quite a big concern for them.
Let's just say Felix Sanchez takes the day off and says, hey, you're picking my team tonight. What's your 11 from goalkeeper all the way through to the striker or forwards?
Okay. So it's quite easy to pick up a lineup from this Qatar national team because of the performances that they have done in the local league, as well as how they have fared under Felix Sanchez. So definitely my picks would be Shadil Sheeb, who will be the goalkeeper. The centre backs would be Abdul Karim Hassan, Bassam Al Rawi, and then Bolem Kouki. It's a back three, which can also sort of get into a back five. And then we have wingers like Pedro Miguel on one side and Homam on the other. And in the core of the midfield, I would put Karim Boudiaf, Abdulaziz Hatem, and captain Hassan Al Haidous, who also drifts and interchanges his position with Akram Afif. And the front two, Almoez Ali, who has quite a unique record of being the top scorer in CONCACAF as well as the Asian Cup. So I would put Almoez Ali and, of course, the man himself, Akram Afif. So it will be a 3-5-2, pretty much what Qatar have been playing under Sanchez for so long. So, it's going to be pretty straightforward, and those are the guys that I can pick from the bunch.
What I was expecting for most of it anyway. Okay, now before we ask you for a prediction for this game, there is another game going on in your group, the Dutch against Senegal. What do you think will happen in that game, and what do you hope will happen?
Yeah. So Senegal have been a side that I've followed for quite a while, and their triumphant African campaign was quite the one to watch. So I think it's gotta be, of course, the Dutch are going into this picture as the side that maybe have an advantage because of the brand of football and how they have performed under Louis van Gaal in recent times. But still, I would not be surprised if Senegal sort of contain them or even pull out an upset, so because they are capable of it. Either ways, if Senegal win, that this might be a very tricky group as well. So I think the Dutch still have an upper hand, but Senegal, I would consider them capable of pulling out an upset.
Okay, wow. Okay, now let's put the focus right back on you again for Qatar against Ecuador. If you had to put a prediction out there for the world to see, what would you go for in the opening game?
Of course, I would want the Qatar national team to do well in this case, and I would go for a 1-1 draw if Qatar national team are having a good day on the field. But I would say Ecuador have an upper hand, but my predictions would be 1-1.
Appreciate your time here today to talk all things Qatar, as of course we look forward to the start of this World Cup and hopefully a cracking one for Qatar as well. Of course, appreciate your time. Make sure we'll check back with you as well as, of course, Qatar get ready for match number 1 and beyond. So make sure we'll keep up to date with you anyway. Of course, you guys out there, subscribe, thumbs up, hit the little bell as well. Check the links down below: Twitch, Facebook, all the kind of good stuff regarding the World Cup is here. Nowhere, no place else. You don't need to go anywhere else. But until then, guys and girls, we'll keep on keeping on, of course, and look forward to the game and more. But until then, subscribe, thumbs up. See you soon. I'm out.